and welcome back to Equal Beats, a podcast from Alpha Theta where we get under the skin of the music industry. In each episode, I speak to the world's leading music industry professionals to make your dream career more accessible, reimagine the future of music, encourage new ways of thinking, and inspire people to carve out their own path in the music industry and beyond. I'm your host, Kika Lomo, and so far we've covered building your brand, the art of performance, breaking into the industry, and more. And today we'll dive into a topic that doesn't get nearly enough attention: navigating motherhood in music. How does parenthood change your career? How can artists balance family and music? And what structural changes will make the industry more compatible with motherhood? As we push for more equality in our industry, the realities of being both a mother and a successful DJ are often overlooked. And that's exactly what my guest today is shining a light on. Cristina Lazic is one of dance music's most cherished artists. She's known for her mesmerizing hypnotic sets with minimal grooves and endless vibes. And since she started DJing in 2016, she's played some of the world's most iconic stages, including High Ibiza, Amnesia, Space Miami, and Sunways Festival. Her productions have become staples on just about every house DJ's USB, with releases on labels like Crosstown Rebels, Bedrock, and Factory 93. She's also committed to diversity and gender inclusion in music. Cristina leads the Parenthood Committee of She Said So, sits on the Hannah mentoring program at Middle Beast, and strives for structural change to support artists at every stage of life. Whether she's neck deep in a sunrise set or playing full throttle peak time energy, Cristina's mission is to get people dancing, stir real emotion, and keep underground music alive, with integrity and inclusivity at the core of everything she does. Today, I'll speak to Cristina about her career path to date, her unusual start to music, how she balances motherhood with her career, and her vision for a fully inclusive future. Cristina, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great.
So, not many people know this, but music is, or I guess DJing more specifically, is pretty much a second career for you. Mm-hmm. You had a pretty different job before you started DJing. So can you let me know and tell the audience what you were doing before you became an artist?
Yeah, of course. Well, I've always been very passionate about music, but my other big passion is tech.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was actually working in the tech industry until 2 years ago. I used to work in covering a marketing role at Google, actually. Yeah, and prior to that, I also worked at Apple.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I come from the tech world, but as mentioned, music has always been my passion. And in fact, prior to Apple and Google, I used to work in music. I used to work in music publishing. Okay. And so I have a mix of music and tech background.
So up until 2 years ago, you were pretty much living a double life, working in tech and also working as a DJ.
Yeah, I mean, DJing, I was doing it on the side, and I did that for 7 years. Mm-hmm. And then 2 years ago, I took what people call the leap of faith.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I decided to dedicate myself full time to music.
You know what's funny? I had exactly the same start. 2016, really? Worked in tech, worked in a startup, and only until 2023, I took the leap of faith to become a full-time DJ as well.
So here we are.
Great minds think alike, eh?
Yeah.
Did you always want to be an artist? Like, what was the moment that, made you decide, okay, I want to really step into this?
Yeah, well, when I was a child, I used to play the piano a lot with my grandmother. She was a piano teacher, and she transmitted me this big love for music. Then when I was growing up, when I was a teenager, I was composing music, and I really wanted to be an artist. But, at the time, I didn't know anyone in the music industry. So eventually, life took me to, study. I studied business and management, and then I specialized in media and communication. And then when I finished my master's, I knew that I wanted to do something that would combine tech and music. But long story short, I covered a variety of roles at Apple and Google, but I never managed to also do music. So eventually I started doing music again as an artist, and I did that in parallel until when, as mentioned earlier, I left the tech career to do music full-time as an artist and as a DJ.
Yeah. And what was the catalyst for you to say, okay, to start to learn how to DJ?
Yeah, actually, it's a bit unusual, but I started DJing during my maternity leave.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, so back in 2016, I had my daughter, and 6 months go by, and I just, I'm there thinking about nappies and milk and newborn toys and, all that stuff. And that's when a friend reaches out to me. And curiously enough, her name is Mina Lazic. She's also Serbian. By the way, Lazic is the surname of my husband. And basically she tells me, Cristina, you love electronic music. We have been going to Ibiza so many times together. I'm starting the DJ course. Do you want to start the course with me? And I was there thinking like, I have zero time for myself. I need some me time. So I was like, this is like a great idea. And so I like looked into this course that she was doing, and it was very far. I was living in London then, and it would take me long time to travel all the way to the course. So I basically researched on Google actually, and I was like, I'm gonna find another course that is closer to my flat because I was breastfeeding still, so I didn't have much time available. And I found this course in a basement. Yeah, and I went to speak with this guy from the school, and he told me, okay, it's interesting, you want to do this while, in your little time. And that's how I started. I started the DJ course, and the moment I started, that's when all the feelings that I had when I was a teenager, when I was composing music and playing the piano and so, dreaming of becoming an artist, all these feelings resurfaced. And I was like, I want to do this. I mean, I love what I'm doing. I really love my job, but music is my passion. So then I spent the next 7 years, as they say, juggling between being a mother and working, full-time in tech. And then I also started doing DJing whenever I could.
That's such an amazing story, I mean, did you have any concerns about starting a DJ career with a newborn baby?
Well, of course, I had concerns, but I think that, the passion is something that took over, and I was like, somehow I can make it happen. And luckily, I had a lot of support from my husband, and that's why actually the DJ name is Lazic, because it's his surname, because it started off as a hobby, but with the dream of becoming a full-time thing. And of course, I was concerned, but I think that every woman, regardless of the jobs they do, is concerned about making any sort of decision which is career-related when they have kids. So, of course, I had all of this in mind, but I was like, you know what, I live only once.
Yeah.
I feel like I was made to do music, and my grandmother gave me that, example. So that's why I kind of pushed it as much as I could to do it full-time eventually.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, what were some of the concerns that you had at the time that you decided to kind of move past?
Well, of course, the fact of balancing and of like being able to do it in a way that would be as, disciplined as possible and dedicating the right time to the family. I was raised in Italy, a country where, women are expected to lead the family and take care of kids. So I had all this pressure that I was also putting on myself on my own, because to be honest, my parents have always been supportive of everything I wanted to do, but still I had this societal pressure to take care of the family and being a good mother and being present and spending a lot of time with the family. But then eventually I learned to kind of let go this sense of responsibility or guilt. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still have the sense of responsibility, but it's not pressuring me so much as it was at the beginning. And I've kind of listened to also my, my inner feelings of doing this for the sake of being happier. And in fact, I believe that since when I'm doing this full time, I am much happier and I'm a much better wife and a much better mother.
Yeah. It's so important to listen to that inner gut feeling. Sometimes you get a lot of noise and a lot of, as you say, pressure, whether it comes from family or society, to do stuff a certain way. But when you listen to that gut feeling, I feel like it always takes you to the right place.
It doesn't come, overnight.
Yeah.
It's something that you need to kind of train yourself. And I think that the biggest obstacle I had was my mind, was this sense of guilt, and also combined with an imposter syndrome that everything I was doing, I was not doing it. I was not deserving to do it because I had to take care of other things, But eventually it came from work that I've done on my own, and also that the support that I've had from my family, in the first place my husband, but also my parents. Even at work, I was working in a company where if you had a hobby and if you wanted to nurture it, it was something that it was welcome. You didn't have to hide it. I always quote this time when I remember it was during the Olympics, and we receive an email, all the Google employees receive an email cheering the Googlers that were taking part in the Olympics. And I was like, wow, if there are Googlers that have the time to be Olympic, athletes, then maybe I can do it as a DJ in parallel.
Yeah.
So I also had the support from the company I was working at. So there was a whole, structure that I was lucky to have that kind of helped me push that forward.
And look at where you are now.
Here we are.
Was there a particular point when you started to realize that your music career was starting to take off?
Yes, it was actually 2 moments. The first moment came once I got basically a special follow on Instagram from one of the DJs. I would say the DJ that I would say kind of discovered me, and that's Damian Lazarus. Basically I sent my very first 2 demos to Crosstown Rebels, and I sent them to the generic email address because I didn't know anyone at Crosstown Rebels, and basically the A&R of the label listened to them, he liked them, and then he kind of sent my music to Damian Lazarus. And the day that Damian followed me on Instagram, he actually, kind of congratulated me for the music. That was the first sign of the universe, as I call it, to kind of believe in myself and believe in my creations. I was composing music when I was a teenager, but then I started producing music, and that was the kind of validation that I think I needed to some extent to believe that my music product was good. So that was gave me the the belief in myself. And then Damian involved me to play in a lot of situations, and also Ibiza for 2 seasons. He kind of called me to open the club room, which on Saturdays like Damian is kind of organizing and curating it. So that was the first moment. And then a second moment last year when actually at the wedding of a friend that is not related to electronic music, I met my current manager, and she, by the way, she's a female, and I'm very proud of that. And since when we've been working together, I have seen there is a really nice growth in my profile, because we kind of took this project together, and we have started pushing it together, and I've seen a massive growth. So these are the 2 kind of moments that I think have made me, made a difference.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're able to balance your career and your family responsibilities through support from your family and your husband, but also through discipline as well. When you first started out, what kind of support did you need to kind of get to that point of balance?
Yeah, as mentioned earlier, I think the first thing is to work on yourself, because sometimes we can be the main obstacle to reaching our goals or realizing our dreams. So definitely I also took time, to see a therapist to cover a variety of topics, not only this career topic, but she was really helpful in taking the decision of eventually transitioning from being a comfortable, full-time employee to be freelance and, navigating.
It's not easy.
Not easy at all. So that's one thing. And then, yes, as mentioned, I was also very open about it. I know that many people are kind of hiding if they have a passion. And I've never hidden anything. Like, it was always clear since day one that I was a mother and, trying to be a DJ. I remember at the beginning, my branding was this of being like mother, Googler, and DJ, these 3 lives. And I was never hiding it. And in this way, I was not even hiding it to myself. So I believed in that more. And it kind of made it happen faster. I really believe that. And then, of course, there is a whole structure of support, which, as mentioned, society can be difficult, especially for women. While, to be honest, since the very beginning, when I started DJing, I was like, of course, I was DJing at home. Started as a bedroom DJ, I think everyone. And I was like, I'm going to post videos of myself playing at home. And now if I look at those videos, I'm like, how did I have the courage to post such videos?
We've got to start somewhere, right?
Exactly. And I was receiving a lot of messages by other women telling me, wow, this looks so cool. That was 2017, beginning of 2017. And you couldn't find that many female DJs there. Of course, there were a lot of female DJs already, but it was not so common to see female DJs. So it was something new. And to receive the support of women, even in this way, very reserved private messages on my Facebook by the time, if Facebook was still, pretty much a thing, I was like, wow, this is giving me the support I need again, and it gave me the strength to continue. And then, of course, I started using also Instagram, and I started believing in myself more and being less scared of the judgment.
Yeah.
Because I think that was the thing that was holding me back the most.
So how did you go about, navigating traveling with a young child? Because the traveling for DJing can be really intense sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, when Sofia, my daughter, was born, I was a bedroom DJ, as mentioned. So I was not traveling much, but I was actually traveling a lot with work at Google already. I was managing several countries, so traveling was happening often during the week. So I got organized in a way that I had a live-in nanny. Also, my husband has a very demanding career, and he also travels often. So we had a live-in nanny and helping each other. We have always tried to help each other a lot in managing anything related to family and the house. And the last few years, yes, things have picked up a lot. So I still get the help, especially from my husband during the weekends. And my living nanny, I ask her to help me mainly when I'm not around. During the week, I mainly take the lead, and I'm happy to spend time, with Sofia. Actually, I feel like I have more time for her than when I used to have the 9-to-5 job. Yeah. So now, of course, I have some months in the year that are very busy, especially from June to September.
The summer festival seasons.
Exactly, yes. And then again around December and January. Of course, it's a bit difficult because that's when there are school breaks. So I'm taking advantage of the half-term breaks to spend time with my daughter, and we travel maybe, to Italy or Serbia, and we spend time with the grandparents. Or I'm taking advantage of other times to really, really make the most of family time. It's all about getting organized, and, I'm still getting there. I would like to have a bit more structure, so it's not perfect, but it's improving.
It's a process.
Yeah, it's a process, 100%.
I mean, the career, I feel like there's no one way to navigate a career as a DJ. You just have to kind of find the way that works for you.
100%. Yeah. And now I'm learning also sometimes, especially in the months that are not the busiest, to block a weekend per month to spend time with my family. And this really helps me also to recharge my batteries, because it's really intense to travel so much.
It's really necessary.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of intensity, I've heard you compare the career of a DJ to the career of a doctor. How would you, can you expand on this a little bit more?
Course,
what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so my mother-in-law, she's a doctor, and that's why I tend to compare. I mean, of course, the purposes of the jobs are different, but I feel that there are some elements in common. First of all, the shifts. Like, my mother-in-law was working long hours, was traveling very often, and now she's retired, but she was traveling very often to conferences. And also, I think the human element, it's very demanding, both for doctors and for DJs, because, of course, doctors get called, for emergencies, so clearly it's a different purpose, as I mentioned. But I see that there is a lot of pressure being put even on DJs, from entertaining people to managing, the guests that you have. It's my phone is ringing all the time, basically. And I think this is very common to see with DJs and with artists, and it's a parallelism that I can make also with doctors. And it requires discipline in the same way as being a doctor requires discipline. So I'm trying to approach my job in a very disciplined and structured, as much as I can, way, so that I can keep a balance and also a discipline that is actually helping me also when I'm not working. Because I don't know if you feel the same, but I'm noticing that there are, peak of adrenaline times, and then there are times which is really, some lows.
Yeah.
And the only way for me to manage it is to be very disciplined and eat very healthy, sleep whenever I can, not drinking. These are habits that eventually you get trained with, and they can, make your life easier.
I would love to know more about, how it is navigating parenthood in music. And, I have actually now a few friends who've had babies and also DJs, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But I would love to know What initiatives do you think would be most impactful in supporting parents who are building careers in music?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the introduction of this podcast, and you mentioned that I am also part of She Said So, which is a community of women, and I've been part of their parenthood committee for a few years. We have been trying to activate some initiatives that we haven't managed yet to activate, which I think are like utopic right now, but I'm hoping they're going to become the reality. First of all, I think there is a need for a 24/7 helpline for parents in music, especially mothers, because we need help. I mentioned earlier my therapist. She was really important in helping me make my decision to make this full time. And there is a need for support, psychological support. So that's the number one. Then I think there is a need to kind of educate people, and in our industry, it's also, of course, full of males, about the fact that, we need to normalize parenthood, basically. So from creating family areas at festivals to potentially offering child care support for, during gigs. Right now, it's something that, depends on me, and I need to, always ask for an exception. I feel like I'm asking for an exception for bringing my daughter to, somewhere and get an additional bed for her and potentially requiring childcare. So why it's not the same if I want to bring the tour manager or the video maker? I mean, I think that something as important as childcare should become more normal. And right now there is really almost no awareness of the fact that there is this, let's call it, problem. So I think these are some things that I think should become more normalized. Providing childcare, providing areas for families when possible, and also offering psychological support.
Yeah, I've seen, as I mentioned, I've got a few friends who've had babies and also still kind of now DJing. And one of them, it's actually a couple, they're called Touching Base, and they just had their son. I think he must be about 2 now. And with their parties, they've kind of evolved them to have, as you say, childcare areas, or like making them start earlier, for example, so people can come with their families, and like making it more multi-generational. So I think the change is coming, and it's small but steady, but there's still a long way to go.
Yes, I mean, when the parenthood committee was established, She Said So, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, and I was like, this is maybe even too early, because I could see the amount of female DJs increasing, but I was like, okay, now let women come to the industry. It's amazing, it's needed. Eventually these women will want potentially to become mothers, so there is gonna be this next chapter starting, and I think it's about to start now. So
I mean, you've been campaigning for these changes since the beginning of your career. Have you seen many positive changes since then?
More than structural stuff, I've seen the awareness part is being finally touched upon. First of all, you see profiles like Amelie Lenz in the first place. I mean, I'm very happy to see her on covers, some magazines, portraying her career, but also the fact that she's a mother. Things are starting to come. You also see some DJs like Logic 1000 that she's touring and she's openly talking about it. You see more and more DJs, even males, that talk about parenthood. It's amazing. I mean, I get excited when I see this topic coming up, because I'm like, yes, it's becoming a bit more normal. So I think we're still in the awareness phase. And then eventually there is going to be a time where there is going to be support needed with the structure.
And do you think that awareness is just in terms of visibility of people talking about being parents, or do you think there are actually conversations now happening to kind of discuss it?
I mean, this is the example, there are conversations that are starting to happen.
Okay, fantastic. I mean, actually going to the conversations, what kind of conversations are they, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, it's about the journey of women, even just giving practical, tips, because people are surprised, or even just providing a space for talking about it. Just yesterday, I had a chat with another female DJ who is also a mother, Salome Lechat, and we were talking about it. We were like, it's crazy. We never sleep. Just knowing that there are other people in your same situation and they can understand you, and providing a space for talking about it. I think it's something that is important. And She Said So is doing a lot in that space, and there are a lot of other communities that are growing. Myself, even, I have my own project. It's a label, but I'm trying to involve as many females as possible, and I see that eventually becoming a safe space for people to talk about, anything, including the topic of parenthood.
100%. And I mean, you mentioned Emily Lenz, Logic 1000. I know that JDG has also been navigating having a newborn, and Lois Chen brought her newborn onto her NTS show.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're seeing more women being more open to the concept of motherhood while navigating their careers in music?
100%, and it makes me very happy because this was not the case. When I started DJing, it was 2016, so we're not talking about 1,000 years ago. Yeah, but it was a bit like females were hiding if they were getting pregnant, especially in my music genre, which is very underground. I play minimal music, quite still male dominated. Yeah, and you're pregnant equals the fear that you may not get booked. At least this was back then. Now people are more open about it, which means there is a change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What fears do you think women have when it comes to motherhood and working in music? And I mean, do you have any fears yourself?
Well, as mentioned earlier, the fear of sense of guilt. Yeah. Fear of also not being ready for it. I mean, to me, motherhood happened in a way that was not planned. Yeah, it was quite early in my career, and I was, in the tech career then. But still, I embraced it, and it actually was the catalyst for making me change and dedicate myself to my passion. So I'm thankful that it happened, but I was always scared that I'm not good enough for it. I'm not ready for it. There are a lot of things that I think can come in many areas of our lives as women. Imposter syndrome, always the feeling that I'm playing tomorrow here, and then the day after I immediately need to leave because I want to spend time with my family, otherwise I'm a bad mother. All these fears that are there, but you can learn to manage them.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've got an amazing support system and community around you to help manage those
Yeah, I mean,
fears.
again, it can get better, but somewhere you need to start. As you need to start somewhere with DJing as a bedroom DJ, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere you need to start as a mother, or as mother who is also a musician.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, I would say you flip the script on starting as a mother first, then a DJ second. I mean, what advice would you give to someone who's planning to become a mother while working full-time as a DJ?
Yeah, I mean, to not be scared. You find a way. My mother and my sister, when she was just 18 years old, she found a way. Yeah. Maybe that's why I was not so scared of it, because I saw the example of my mother that somehow she made it happen. So, I think that nowadays, again, society is putting a lot of pressure on doing things, perfectly. And we have a lot of, comparisons, and we see all these perfect examples on social media.
Yeah.
If we look at our parents' generation, they all managed to raise us in, probably without the same pressure that we have now on the way we feed the kids, the way we raise them.
Everyone's got an opinion.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, just... I think if you feel like you want to become a parent, again, you live only once. So in the same way as I felt like I only live once and I want to do music in my life, so why not having kids? It's so beautiful. It's so fulfilling.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I mean, how does your daughter view your work as a DJ and music in general? Like, do you take her to shows?
Yes, I take her to shows. She was at a show on this past Friday. Yeah, I played midnight to 2. And because at midnight it was my birthday, she came with my mother and they brought me the cake at midnight. It was super cute, yeah. It was the first time she came to a show like at night time. Normally she comes to my shows in the day, and if it's easy to organize logistically, but she sees it as something. I mean, I want to normalize that this is a job, in the same way as you are a doctor, or you can work in marketing, or you can do any other jobs. I think she likes it. Yeah. Well, once I went to her school to talk about my profession, because they were inviting all the parents to talk about their jobs. Those were explaining about, banking type of job or media. And then I also went explaining what a DJ does, and explaining that being a DJ is not just about being famous or, partying, like explain that it's a very hard job.
Yeah.
And it requires discipline. It requires
preparation.
Like, my week is, filled with a lot of stuff that I'm doing that you don't see, that then prepare my gigs. Yeah. Making music, preparing, even admin, it's,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, so there are a lot of things that you don't see. So it's a hard job, and it's also physically demanding. So that's what I'm trying to also explain to her. Yeah.
Fabulous. Let's talk a little bit more about gender equality in music. One thing that I've noticed quite a lot, especially as a woman coming up around the same time as you did, is that one of the things that happens on lineups is that women are really often booked for opening slots as opposed to headliner slots. Why do you think that is? And what do you think the industry can do to shift that dynamic?
I think that there is still that misconception that females should be treated as like fillers. Like we need to have a woman in the lineup to be like, equally,
to check a box.
To check the box and to have the quotas. But then they place us at the beginning, which I think is quite unfair. So I think there is a need of educating the industry that females can be equally good as men. Also, to be honest, though, I think that it's something, I was actually analyzing this topic, and I think that females are very empathetic. And in that respect, they can really set the right situation, because being a warm-upper, it's, to me, the most difficult task 100%. Of the night. I mentioned earlier that I've done that for a couple of years at the club room at High with Damian Lazarus. Every time I had to study who was the DJ after me, and I had to, slightly change the style so that it would fit and it would create the right setup. And also you need to really attract people to the dance floor so that you make the room full. And this requires, in my opinion, a lot of empathy, because you need to create that connection. So you need to have emotional intelligence. And I truly believe that females have a strong emotional intelligence. So it's, two reasons. The fact that I think females are also, can be better at creating the right type of situation, but also the problem that is females need to be there, because now there are female DJs and we need to make sure that there are also females in the lineup. So we are placed as, let's call it fillers to open. So I see that definitely we are proving our skills. I think, though, that the next step is to place women at more central slots because we have the skills.
I also wonder if there's something about the dynamic of how lineups run, because some of the clubs that I play in, for example, where you would normally see a headliner peaking at the middle of the night or the end of the night, sometimes they are playing opening slots. And I've spoken a lot to other artists about, what's involved with playing an opening. And you basically have to relinquish your ego, right? Because you're going to be, you're going to be playing, even if it's only for 5 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour, to essentially an empty floor. And so you have to kind of push beyond that ego of like, okay, like I'm not playing, baggers or like playing to a packed out crowd, but it's still my job to make sure that to take people on that journey and have a good time. And I wonder if we took less of the emphasis of like a peak time slot and put more of an emphasis on like the journey of the night, whether that would kind of open people up more to, going beyond just playing in the middle or towards the end of a night, Well,
I think also females are more prone to let their ego go, for the sake of, making sure that everyone has a good night. It's similar to what we're talking about, like females being expected to take care of the family. In the same way, I think females have that added capacity to create the situation and to let go of their ego. And also I think that as females have got into the industry in such a, massive way in the last few years, we are still fighting to some extent to show that we have the skills, and we have generally, I'm generalizing clearly, but it's very common, and I see that from many discussions with female DJs, it's common to have an imposter syndrome. So it's enough that I'm there, and it doesn't matter if I'm opening, it's already a lot. I should be thankful for that. But most of the times I like the warm-up slots and the warm-up sets much more than when I hear like headliners. Maybe sometimes I'm a bit like I listen to music that I've already heard, while you really find the gems in the warm-up sets, in my opinion.
Yeah. You get to play stuff that you don't normally get to play anyway.
Yes, and also technically it's much more difficult because it's lower and again, you don't need to have that arrogance to start immediately strong. You slowly need to build up. It's much more difficult technically.
Yeah. So you heard it here. If you're trying to really show you're a real DJs play the opening one. So headliners start switching around. So moving beyond or moving from behind the DJ booth to, I guess, behind the scenes, how important do you think it is to see more female promoters and people kind of curating parties, shaping lineups and running events in our scene?
Yeah, you're making me very excited now because I can see more and more females who are working as promoters or who have their labels or who are curating nights. This excites me a lot because, again, first of all, I see the way in which they are more empathetic about making sure that everyone is treated in a certain way, that everyone is having a good time, that the night is a success. So that's one thing that at a human level really makes me excited. And also I think it's necessary to have both females and males curating because it, diversity is always good. It has a good impact on the creativity, on everything. And I think it can create really good result and good success for music. So I just actually, curiously enough, I made a post on my Instagram the other day where I really talked about this topic. I was like, it is nice to see more females that are actually booking me, that are sending me promos, that are asking me to get involved in their labels. It excites me, and we should celebrate women not only during the month of March, but every month, right? So I really believe that it's important to have more female promoters or curators.
100%. Yeah. Would you ever consider starting your own party or curating?
Well, I'm already doing it. Yes, okay, I am. Yeah, because I have my own music project, which is called the Lazic, which in French slang stands for la musique.
Okay.
The music.
It's like
spelled the same way as my DJ.
It's like laid out for you to have it called that, you know?
Yeah, actually, I had many people that before I started my label were telling me, Lazic, la musique, it means the music. Yeah. So I was like, okay, if I start a music project, that's going to be called the music. Lazic. Yeah. So it's my own project, and of course it's a label, but there is also like an events part of it. So we have already done a few showcases. We're continuing organizing them, and I curate the lineup. And I have females and males on the lineup. I have females and males in the label, and I want to continue that. And it's quite hard to find female producers in my genre, but there are more and more coming. And I'm making sure that whenever I spot the talent, I immediately involve them in the label.
Yeah, amazing. When it comes to equality, what do you hope to see, for the future of our industry? And I guess maybe more specifically, what changes would you like to see happening?
Well, as mentioned earlier, I would like to see more normality and, awareness about the fact that if you ask for childcare, it's something that is normal and it should not be seen as like something that is crazy. Also, right now, a lot of people are surprised when I, decline to drink during nights, and I think that's something that should be normalized, to not drinking. And also, that's a dream to potentially have an agency for nannies, for DJs. Ooh, it would be so amazing.
Amazing.
Can someone please set this up? If not, I'll do it at some point. Yeah.
I mean, you've got the entrepreneurial spirit.
Maybe,
so who knows what happened. I mean, so you already mentioned about, how you've got your party series or kind of your music projects and your event, and how you kind of are getting more promos from female producers, more DJs on lineups. How do you honor and uplift women in music through the work that you do?
Yeah, I mean, as mentioned earlier, I have my own label, and whenever I spot talent, I'm really, happy to help these females not only release their music, but also offering support. I'm coaching a lot of other artists, and when possible, I also like to help them. For example, this girl, she's from Argentina, and she's a resident at Space Miami, Maya Ketty, and I really believe that she's amazing. Like, you can see that she's really putting hard work into production, playing with vinyls. She's very genuine. So I know that she has an upcoming tour now in Europe, and I have I've talked about her to some promoters, and now she's gonna play at a couple of the venues where I refer there. And I think that if you do these things are eventually coming back to you, and that's what I mentioned also earlier. I'm getting now females that are booking me, that are mentioning me as a potential, DJ to get involved. It's all about helping each other. And I think that women can do this the best.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, what does inclusivity look like for you?
Yeah, for me, inclusivity means to be, welcoming any way of expressing yourself or being. I am, married to a man from Serbia. I live in London. I've always traveled the world. I love enjoying other cultures. I think that's what inclusivity means, to coming together regardless of where you're coming from, your gender, anything, to just coming together for the sake of creating.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you've had such an incredible journey kind of touching through different career paths, different expectations, overcoming different challenges. Is there maybe, I don't know, like a life motto that's carried you through to be able to get all of this, get to this point?
Yeah, it's my motto, which is related to also my music project, because Lazic has the symbol of the moon, which is actually a C, like my initial of Cristina, yeah. And I always say, to the moon.
To the moon.
Because I think it's a very nice metaphor to say there are no limits. Like once a friend of mine told me, you should aim high in everything you do, and I'm aiming to the moon, right? And I think that with me, it's a journey that we do together. It's not only me alone. Everyone can dream to get to wherever they want.
I mean, speaking of, doing stuff together, we've already spoken about like the amazing support system that you have, whether it's friends, family, the therapist that you have. What would you say has been the best piece of advice you've been given?
So the best piece of advice is the journey is the reward. Yeah, which I actually think comes from ancient Greece. And I'm very passionate about ancient Greece, by the way. Because I also tend, to always think about what's next. Yeah. And I've learned to enjoy. And to be more present. And I know that it sounds like the common sense, but it is really like that. Like, I have now clear what are my next goals, but I'm also enjoying. I just played a few days ago at Solid Grooves at DC10. What else can you want from a DJ playing my style, Yeah. So instead of like looking at what's next, let's enjoy this moment. I was surrounded with my friends, playing at an amazing club, amazing lineup. That's the journey is the reward.
It's not about the destination, but it's about how you get there, If you had, I don't know, one word to describe being a mother in music, what would that word be?
Well, it is a marathon.
Marathon.
Many people in their 30s start thinking of running a marathon.
Yeah. You're already there. You've done it.
Yeah.
You're still on it. Yeah.
It did last. No, not 40 something kilometers. It's constant marathon. Yeah.
So how do you kind of like prepare, not necessarily prepare, but like maintain that pace?
Well, that's the secret. A marathon, it's not a sprint. So you need to continuously, being slowly getting, keep up, basically. So you should keep up. Yeah. So
slow and steady.
Actually, not giving all the energy into one moment, diluting them across time so that you are not exhausted. I mean, it is difficult to not be exhausted as a DJ, but to try to limit it as much as possible, the exhaustion, by having certain behaviors and discipline, which I'm having in my life. Otherwise, I don't know how I would do it, to be honest.
Yeah, slow, steady, and consistent, just to kind of keep the pace, keep the consistency.
And also learning to say no. Like with my manager, just today we had a conversation and I told her, look, there was a gig that I was like, shall I do it or not? Because I'm a bit tired, So I'm setting the limits. Like when you feel like your body has reached certain limits, it is important to listen to it. It's not easy because once it's about your passion, you want to do it all. But it's also important to listen to your body and set the limits.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of limits, what would you say have been some of your biggest challenges balancing parenthood and your DJ career?
Well, when you are a parent, you experience what most DJs do. There is lack of sleep at another level. So again, that's why, I like to also go out to listen to other DJs or to do some like public relations stuff, but I don't overdo it because sleep for me is very important. So whenever possible, I take naps before my gigs, after my gigs, and also I take 8 hours of sleep whenever I can. This means compromising a bit on other stuff. A lot of times I may have to give up on that dinner with friends, but because I need to sleep. During the week it's my time to recharge. So I've learned to do that. Sleeping is an issue for parents, is an issue for DJs. Imagine both.
Yeah, it's like times two.
Exactly. Yes,
it's a lot. We've spoken quite a lot about some of the other mothers that are kind of building their families as well as their careers in music. Is there one particular mother in music that you really admire?
Yes,
yeah.
Nastia.
Yeah,
I actually met her at this female gathering called the Future Female Sounds in Copenhagen, and she was talking about how she was traveling with her daughter when the daughter was very little, and she didn't even have a nanny, and she would leave the daughter in the hotel, go to play, and then come back. I mean, now her daughter, she's like, I think 20 something. But I was like, wow, you can really do this. She was very inspirational to me, and I think she's amazing.
Yeah. Are there any other, you mentioned Future Female Sounds, are there any other kind of gatherings that have been impactful to you or that you...
Well, She Said So, whenever, I followed She Said So on a variety of events, and I've always been amazed by the support that you can get from other women. There is another one that is actually started from one of the students that I coached called the Female Energy. Yeah, she's doing podcasts and gatherings. There are more popping up, and it makes me very happy. Yeah.
Amazing.
Also because it makes me feel safe.
Yeah.
I know that I can be, talking openly about any topics. Even here today, the team that is behind this podcast is all made of females. It makes me feel safe to express my opinion and, to just be myself.
Amazing. And I mean, what's coming up for you in terms of music, in terms of projects?
Well, I have a few releases coming up. I have one on the label of John Digweed, Bedrock, which we mentioned also earlier. I have a few remixes coming up, something on my own label, Lazic. A lot of gigs, big ADE. So traveling all over the world.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Amazing. Amazing.
I'm very excited.
Me too. It sounds like you've got an amazing journey ahead of you. Busy one, but one that's full of love, that's full of intention, that's full of discipline, that's full of care. And I wish you all the best on your journey.
Thank you so much. Also to you.
Thank you. That is a wrap on episode 6 of Equal Beats. Cristina, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insights and experiences with us today.
Thank you.
You are more than an incredible artist. You're a true pioneer. Your dedication to diversity, equity, and parenthood in music is making an impact on the entire industry and paving the way for many, many women.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really a pleasure.
A real pleasure. I hope this episode has shed some light on what it takes to balance motherhood and a thriving career in music and the structural change we need to see to make the scene more inclusive for everyone. I'm your host, Kika Lomo. Thank you so much for tuning in, and make sure you check out the rest of the series to hear more conversations with the world's leading music industry professionals. Until next time.